Hello, everyone. I'm Megan Perry, Executive Director of Women's Initiatives at the Sports Innovation Lab, and I am here with Jacie deHoop, who is the co-founder and head of partnerships at The Gist. Jacie, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, Megan.
Yeah, of course, of course. So let's just dive right in. We're going to talk about the Fan Project report. We're going to talk about The Gist. You guys have been incredible partners as we've kind of gone on this journey together to release the Fan Project report, which is our data initiative to really help expand the conversation around and accelerate the conversation around investing in women's sports. And so when we think about The Gist, we know that you and your colleagues, you're all about expanding the reach and exposure to women's sports content through storytelling, which is huge in the report, and sharing your newsletter with your community and your subscribers. So my first question to you is, tell us, how do you think the Fan Project report in general will help amplify some of the work that you're doing? How is it helping you?
Yeah, it's, well, I think it's already helping us in quite a few ways. The biggest thing for us out of the Fan Project has really been how we've had a lot of hypotheses about the space, a lot of kind of inklings and directional thoughts on where there's demand and what a more diverse fan is looking for, and kind of where there are gaps in the industry, and kind of where the industry is heading, and how, fans are consuming media in different ways, interacting with sports and athletes in different ways. But a lot of it has been exactly that, hypotheses. And so what's been so awesome about the report is how we now have a lot of actual data and numbers to back those hypotheses that are like, yes, there is demand here, and in this space there is demand for content that looks like this. There is demand for more diverse voices and for centering female voices in sports. So that's been huge for us, just in really everything we do, to have the actual data to kind of back up really what we're all about.
Mm-hmm. Well, so as leaders in the women's sports industry and a growing company, I know that there's a need for data, not just with The Gist, but beyond, right? So I would love to know, with this report, in your opinion, what did you find to be like the most interesting or thought-provoking part of the analysis? What really came to your attention as you were reading through the report?
Yeah, good question. One of the stats that really stood out to me and has continued to come back to me in the weeks since the report has been released was the one line that was kind of: the pipeline of talent for women's professional sports is growing at 6 times the rate of the men's pipeline. Like, yeah. That is huge. That's, again, we kind of knew that, but like to actually see that number is just astounding. I think, it just shows there's so much demand. It shows where the space is going. And yeah, just having the actual numbers behind that pipeline and like where the demand is coming from is really helpful, especially building a business case around it.
Oh, no, absolutely. And so that's one of the things that I love the stat that you shared, because the pipeline is something we've always felt, as you mentioned before, but the Fan Project report, I think something that, I'm not going to say I know, something that I'm personally excited about is that it confirms a lot of our instincts and our notions, right? That if you've been in the women's sports space for any amount of time, you've always felt like, yes, like we should invest. It feels good. It's right. But it's been missing the numbers to make the business case. And so we're hoping that this helps close that gap. So let me talk a little bit about storytelling, because in the report, we really highlight the fact that women's sports thrive when storytelling is queen, is what we like to say. Meaning women's sports fans have been leaning into this digital space for a while, and they want to create, they want to consume content, and they want to know the whole story. And so, I'm really curious to know, when you think about the trends with athlete-driven media, Jacie, like, how are you all embracing that from a storytelling perspective? Are there new ways that you're thinking about connecting with and amplifying athletes in their stories?
Totally. Yeah, I loved reading about this in the report, because that's really what we're all about, content beyond the field of play. And we've definitely found that our gisters do connect with athletes as people, both female and male athletes. So we focused a lot on amplifying the voices and content that female athletes, and particularly BIPOC athletes, are creating and sharing. We also create a lot of content that's just on getting to know athletes outside of the court or off the field. We've done WNBA player profiles that have performed so well. player fits as they're heading into the game, highlighting their advocacy and social justice work. We've also worked with a lot of our brand partners on that athlete storytelling as well. We found that, you know, brands are starting to really put a lot of dollars into sponsoring female athletes, which has been so amazing to see. And really all brands should be doing that. But a lot of the time too, they aren't sure on the best ways to create those storylines and make sure that they're working with these athletes in the most effective way for these more fluid fans. So we've just seen a lot of success in working with athletes and brand partners together to create that athlete-driven media too. I think down the line, we see so much opportunity in working directly with athletes and creating original content that's all around getting to know them personally. Also a lot of opportunity to collaborate with some of the outlets out there that do that really well. Kind of like that behind the scenes athlete content that we know our gisters are really looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny because when you talk about this, and I could go all day on talking about athletes and content generation, but what the report really, you know, also highlights is this fact that we know that women sports fans, like, they want to follow, they want to consume the content, they want to tell their stories, but they want to represent their community. And so I think sponsors are really waking up, and partners are waking up to the idea that if you align yourself with women's sports and the causes that they care about, the women's sports fans, like, they consider you part of their family too, right? And any fan, any friend of theirs is going to be a friend of, or sorry, any friend of the team or the league is going to be a friend of that fan, right? And so I think people are just kind of waking up to this idea that, yeah, you have to lean into the athletes, the platforms that they care about, and tell more of their stories, because that's what the fan base is really, I guess, juiced by, if you will. And that there is a tremendous opportunity for growth, exponential growth, if you align it appropriately.
Totally.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
So let's dive into the gist a little bit. Tell me, what are you excited about? What should we be looking forward to? And what are you working on?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I think, you know, we're right before the Tokyo Olympics, so that's going to be pretty huge for us. And we're heading into a big sports season. Like, just the fall is huge for sports, of course, more broadly too. So we're just excited from a content perspective of just like all the exciting things that are going to be happening, those athlete storylines that are going to be emerging over the next few months. From a GIST perspective, we're super focused on audience growth and on working with brand partners that really understand that community-based monetization model and really get what we're all about and kind of aligns with our values. On the audience growth side, we've been seeing that there is so much demand for centering female voices, for more diverse perspectives on sports, and just more progressive coverage on sports too. So now that we've seen that the demand is there, and the report has kind of helped solidify that the demand is there too, we're scaling up and kind of growing as quickly as possible so that we can really extend that level of engagement and that relationship that we have with our community as much as we can across North America. And then on the flip side, we're also, you know, we're a business, so we are monetizing again through those brand partners that really get what we're all about and have that values alignment. And what's been really cool to see is that there has been this huge shift even in the last few years since we first launched to now in these brands taking note. And I loved at the end of the report some of the graphs that showed, I think it was Nike, Budweiser, and Visa, who all were kind of early adopters of investing in whether it's leagues, teams, athletes, and have seen just that brand affinity and brand engagement skyrocketing. So we're all about finding more partners like that that are really genuinely and authentically investing in the space and supporting the space.
Awesome. Well, listen, Jacie, keep doing the work that you're doing. We love the energy, and we're excited because the sky is really the limit as we see for the gist and where you're going, and your contributions to growing the women's sports space. So I want to say thanks so much for your time, and we look forward to continuing to following the gist and subscribing.
Thank you so much, Megan. Yeah, you can subscribe at thegistsports.com, and thank you so much for having me. This is really fun.